Welcome back to Hannity. After Supreme Court Justice Clarence Thomas said the country focuses too much on race, liberal Alabama State Representative Alvin Holmes took to the State House floor and attacked Thomas for those remarks, criticizing him for his interracial marriage and calling him an Uncle Tom. Pretty unbelievable. So today we reached out to the NAACP interim president, Lorraine Miller, as well as Rosalind Brock, the organization's chair, for their reaction to Holmes' remarks. And guess what? Once again, we received nothing. Now, in addition, we also called the Reverend Al Sharpton and Jesse Jackson. They, too, have refused to comment. Now, we've also reached out to these people more than a dozen times to respond to the North Carolina NAACP president, William Barber's attack on Senator Tim Scott, calling him a ventriloquist dummy. And there we received complete radio silence. Here with reaction, Democratic strategist Richard Fowler, Fox News contributor, our friend David Webb is back. Richard, if the NAACP's mission is the advancement of colored people, and you have these bigoted attacks, repeated attacks against black conservatives, don't they have an obligation to speak out and condemn these things and stand up for these black conservatives?
Well, listen, I think there's a big difference in what we saw from Reverend Barber and what we saw from this representative in Alabama. And I think the representative in Alabama is out of line here, Sean. I'll give you that.
He's out of line, but I didn't ask you that question. And every time I ask you a question, you never answer it. I asked, does the NAACP, the National Association for the Advancement of Colored People, here you have prominent black conservatives that never seem to get the defense of the NAACP. Is that wrong?
Listen, Sean, I've said this once, I've said this twice, I've said this 3 times, and I'm pretty clear on it. I think the NAACP stands up for issues that affect black folks all across the country. And
is it wrong? Should they stand up in these 2 specific cases?
Well, I think the cases are completely different.
All right. Well,
can we just stop parsing the BS, which is what's going on here? I've had
There's no parsing happening at all,
I've had it with
David.
this. Let me finish, Richard. I've had it with this. You know, whether we worry about the explanation or the apology, they're bigoted attacks by bigots who are under the NAACP banner, both Representative Holmes and Reverend Barber.
How is Reverend Holmes under the NAACP banner?
They have a long history with the NAACP. Holmes has been a part of the NAACP. He's been in office since 1974. These guys go out with their bigoted attacks, and the root of this problem is that they feel that they can make these attacks. So screw the explanations, keep the apologies. What I'm sick of, and what any American, you won't answer Sean's question, I will. The NAACP, by the way, which has lost all credibility in recent years, does not defend colored people, which is under their name. It defends those who agree with them, and I'm sick of it. You can keep your apologies, Sean, I don't care. The bottom line is the root of this problem is that these guys, Reverend Barber, Representative Holmes, feel that they're entitled to make bigoted comments, and then Rosalind Brock or Lorraine Miller or former President Benjamin Jealous, total silence, or Hillary Shelton, where are they? Because this fits their agenda.
All right. Is it bigoted, Richard? Simple question. What this representative in Alabama said about Clarence Thomas, is that bigoted?
Yeah, I think it is bigoted.
Okay. Is it bigoted to say Tim Scott's a ventriloquist dummy?
I think those are different statements, and they're made for different reasons.
Is that bigoted to call him a ventriloquist dummy because he's a conservative, quote, with the Tea Party?
A personal attack against somebody's wife who is completely out of the picture here is different than an attack on somebody's voting record. There's two completely different things.
It was not an attack on his voting record. Watch what he said and listen to what he said. He used a pejorative. He went after Tim Scott. It was an insult. And for the left who likes to talk about,
he carries the right-wing agenda.
You like to talk about body language as a part of communication, which it is. Look at the body language and what comes out of these guys. It's unacceptable. And it's time that Americans turn on this. And let's stick with Representative Holmes for a moment. If he has a problem with Clarence Thomas and a white wife, does he have a problem with Nick Cannon and Mariah Carey? Does he have a problem with other blacks who marry white women or black women who marry white men? What is his problem? The problem is if you're conservative,
it's none of his business.
Right, but what is the root of his problem? It's you don't fit their ideology.
They want blacks. Right, here's then the question. So the NAACP, it's only liberal, progressive, Democratic, black Americans, not
all black Americans.
Not conservatives.
And the history is there. Yeah. No matter what questions asked, what's here. You know what we need to do, Sean? Offense. All right, you and I combined, just you and I alone, two of the biggest radio platforms, terrestrial and satellite, Fox News in this country, and others. And we need to turn on them and go after them. Start with, there's no explanation necessary. Why don't you stop saying it to begin with?
I want the NAACP I want them to stand up and speak out and stand for. Wait a minute. These are prominent black Americans that are being called bigoted names. You are even too timid to speak out and say the attack against Tim Scott is morally reprehensible.
Wait a second. But let's talk about this comment that was made by the representative of Alabama. That comment was wrong. That comment wasn't decent.
Where's the NAACP? Why won't they answer?
Wait a minute now, Sean. The fact that both you and David agree with that, then you guys should also agree that two men should have the ability to get married, and they should have the ability to live in happiness.
We're not talking about gay marriage here. Stop distracting
and
deflecting.
It's the same exact thing. There's no shucking or deflecting here at all.
We are talking about an issue right here.
Clarence Thomas has sat there every single time and voted against marriage equality, but yet you want people to defend his interracial marriage.
You're actually being a coward here, Richard.
No, you're being the coward. Why won't you stand up and defend the freedom of LGBT families?
Say right now that the NAACP should stand up against a bigoted attack by Representative Holmes.
The NAACP stands up for LGBTQ folks. The NAACP stands up for women's right to choose. The NAACP stands up for black folks.
Richard,
answer his question.
Simple question, Richard. Should the NAACP issue a statement against Representative Alvin Holmes for a bigoted attack on Clarence Thomas? Yes or no?
That's where the NAACP decides.
Yes or no?
I think those attacks are bigoted.
Yes
you got the answer
no?
from me.
Make a decision.
I'm not the NAACP.
Make a decision for yourself. I'm asking you.
I made my decision for myself,
I'm asking you,
David.
yes or no, should they issue a statement?
I made the decision. I'm telling you that I think he shouldn't have said those words.
What about Scott?
I don't agree with him for saying this.
My question to you was, should the NAACP issue a statement condemning this?
I don't work for the NAACP. I'm not in the NAACP's office. That's
he can't even go against the dynamic. And I like Richard. He seems like a nice guy. But this is what goes on in the left quarters of the black community. They feel, just like Deneen Borelli in her book Blacklash talks about, they feel that they're somehow entitled to some higher purpose. I got news for you. We're all red. We all bleed red. We're all human. There's only one race human. And frankly, if a man and a woman lie down, procreation is proof. That's where it stands with me. That's where it stands with most Americans. And frankly, I'm offended by Richard's
I'm not going to let you get away with that.
To say the right thing here.
We got to go.
The fact is, the NAACP stands up for voting rights, they stand up for women's rights, and they stand up for the right to choose.
Then stand up for Clarence Thomas's rights, for my rights, for Tim Scott's rights, for Alan West's rights, for Deneen Borelli's rights. She's a woman.
LGBTQ families all across this country. You won't stand up for them.
We got to take a break. Thank you both. Appreciate it.